In this video journal, I'm going to briefly talk about some takeaways from my SLP interview, conducting my FBA, and how I will apply what I've learned to the future. First, I want to briefly talk about a few takeaways from my interview with my school site SLP. I think that it was very interesting to interview SLP. I've dealt with SLPs in a lot of different capacities over the past 30 years. Each SLP operates differently, and it was useful to be able to take the opportunity, being at a new school site, to be able to work with her. That being said, there was a couple of interesting takeaways that I had. First is I was impressed about the mere quantity of students that she needed to work with. Her caseload is 45 or 50 kids. I thought that my caseload of 28 kids at a lot, 50 kids makes it even twice as much to work with. And that led me to a second takeaway. It had been a little bit of a source of frustration with me at the beginning of the school year of not being able to have quite as much collaboration with her as I would have hoped. But it caused me to realize that she was so busy and so spread out that she didn't have the time built into her schedule to do an awful lot of collaboration. And I think that the third takeaway that I have is that there's an awful lot of assessment that speech and language therapists need to do, especially with kids with autism, and there's an awful lot of preparation that they need to have in order to be able to do that. The second thing that I wanted to briefly talk about is my experience as completing FBA. Now, I could talk about that for an extremely long time, but I'm not going to. I think that one thing that would be very important for other students in this class to hear is this was a real live situation that's occurring in real time with a real student who is severely blowing out for a variety of reasons. And I think that one of the things that was both really good and really challenging while completing this FBA was that it was really a large, fluid piece that was changing almost daily, with the child's behaviors escalating in the last couple of weeks. So that things that I was observing and things that I were writing were coming up in real time. It wasn't a nice hypothetical, easy, clean-cut case. What was occurring was that the child was throwing objects, yelling and screaming, and being completely disruptive when being asked to transition from one activity to another, or more importantly, as I talked about my FBA, when all of the work was being asked to be sent home at the end of the day in a green folder and she hadn't finished it, all creation would break loose if she was told to send home work that was not complete. So it's a very real and very fluid situation. That being said, I think it was a terrific experience because they were and they are severe behaviors. They're not minor things that were easy to tweak. And it was really pretty clear and pretty obvious of what the cause of the behavior was. And I think that the other thing that I want to say in this video journal is it's a little bit tricky to do because there's a whole host of people that are involved with working with the child that I conducted an FBA with. And I didn't tell anybody except one person who was involved with them. So that it was both good and bad to be able to draw my own conclusions. But these are definitely my opinions. I have not shared any of my opinions or solicited for the purposes of this assignment what other people involved with this child are doing, thinking or doing. The only person that I had talked to was the behavior support service worker, and that she and I are going to be having a conversation next week now that the assignment is complete and things could be done with integrity. I think the final thing that I wanted to briefly touch on is how I was going to be applying the work with FBAs in the future. I had done FBAs 4 or 5 years ago in the past, and they were extremely long and drawn out. One of the things that I really appreciated was with going through the IRA Center, they're able to follow a logical format. So feeling much more comfortable to be able to apply that to future practice. I think the other thing I'm going to apply in the future is this was a very obvious case of what the behavior is. It's nothing secret, it was nothing complicated, very cut dry, and using it as a successful example or guide for me with a student on the spectrum will make it a lot easier when things are more complicated and less obvious in the future.